Hey, everybody. How are ya? I am very excited to be here with my new friend, Kara, and we are going to be talking about the back to school transition and using music and breath and movement to help calm back to school anxiety, back to school jitters for parents and kids, because I think it probably affects everybody alike.
That's right. I completely agree. I have four little boys and three of them are heading into school in September. So
Wow.
we get it around here. Yeah.
I bet you do. I bet you do. I would love it if you could tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do. We'll play a little bit of your music, but just in your own words, I'd love for you to share.
Yeah, that's great. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. I'm glad that we recently met and we've recently connected over our shared love of kid stuff. So children's book author and children's musician. So my name is Kara Kaufman and I've been a musician for many years. I took quite a hiatus when I started having babies. So as I mentioned, I have four boys. The eldest is 8, almost 9. And then so 8, 6, 4, and almost 2. So about 2 years between each of them. And when I picked music back up a couple of years ago, sort of during the pandemic, it just felt right to be doing children's music. And it felt even more fitting to write songs about dinosaurs because my boys were so into, and still are, into dinosaurs. And it was an easy topic to explore, but I also wanted to weave in stories of childhood wonder and growth and resilience. So I have this sort of these layered songs with lots of dino facts that are really exciting for kids, but also a story that they can relate to. And then I wanted it to be music that parents could listen to as well and caregivers. So I wrote the music just as I would have back in the day when I wrote music for adults, and then used the lyrics to reach the kids. So I have 2 albums out right now. One is Dino Lullabies, and the next one is Dino Ditties. And I'm actually back in the recording studio right now working on the third one. So
Amazing. Well, I feel like, first off, I haven't checked out Dino Lullabies yet, but I feel like we need to play a little bit of your music. I'm hoping
absolutely.
that people will be able to hear it through my speaker.
Okay.
I don't feel like it's going to come out as good as it would, if they were listening to it live, because I don't know if it'll be laggy or anything like that.
Let's give it a try. We'll see.
Yeah, I want to say this just to start. Like I have worked with kids pretty much my entire career, except the last 5 years. I took a little bit of a hiatus and started my own business. And now I'm coming back to it with the kids book. And, my first job when I was 14, I ran kids' birthday parties.
Oh,
I
cool.
Like I did everything. I did bar mitzvahs. I used to get up and get kids dancing at bar mitzvahs and speech therapy. And I've listened to a lot of kids' music, like a lot of kids' music. This is like the coolest kids' music. I turned on a song the other day. I was like, when we first met, I'm like, let me just listen to this. And while I'm doing some work, I think I got through the entire album without even realizing it, because the music, I'm like, this is unique. It's different. And it's almost like in my opinion, it's like a Disney movie where it's
Cool.
like for the kids, but it's for adults as much as it is for the kids.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's great description. And thank you so much. I really appreciate all those words. That's awesome to hear.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. So I'm gonna play this, and I don't know if anybody is here watching us, but if you are here and you're able to hear the music, just go ahead and comment in the comment box. And if not, everybody's just gonna have to play it on their own, right? I put the link in the description
Perfect.
as well so people can hear it. Now the most important question is, I'm between Allosaurus and Stegosaurus as my favorite song. Do you have a preference on either one?
So my husband is between those two as well. And he kind of goes to Steggy because he's always like, Steggy, running around the house. I love Allosaurus for some reason, something about that song, just like I sing it often. And I really love too that like everyone can relate to it in the sense that this Allosaurus, who is this really tough, one of the toughest dinosaurs, says, it's not always easy to be me. Sometimes my days are so rough and tough, or so rough, but I'm tough. I'm tough. I'm tough. And so it's this exploration of resiliency, but also some self-care thrown in there too. And
Yeah.
so I don't know, that song really speaks to me, and I really had so much fun writing it. But yes, Steggy is another favorite. So
Okay, I say we start with Allosaurus and then I
let's do
say
it.
we go to Stegosaurus afterwards. So
Awesome.
I'm just gonna hit play and I just want everybody to get like a little bit of a vibe for like what this music sounds like. And then, like you said, these amazing lyrics that you've put together. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit play and hopefully people can hear it.
Yes.
Scroll over. Can you hear it?
A little bit.
So hopefully you could hear that. Could you hear it?
So I couldn't really hear it. I just heard tiny snippets, but it could just be a Zoom thing. I know I've tried in the past to do music over Zoom and it doesn't work well, but hopefully with the live stream on the on the Facebook and it worked.
People will be able to hear it. Yeah,
totally. And I should mention to people, you can head to my website, and I'm not sure if that's the link that you've included there. You can hear it on my website. You can also stream it anywhere you listen to music, Spotify, Amazon Music, anywhere, et cetera, that you consume music. Both albums are available there.
Amazing. So I'll put the link to your website. I just put the Spotify album on here, but we'll put the link to your website also. So tell me a little bit about like your process when you got started, because obviously I feel like as a parent, you took some time off from working and you got to immerse yourself in mom life. And so I'm curious for you, like, what was that process like getting back into the studio and being able to bring the wisdom from kind of both parts of your life forward?
Yeah, well, getting back into the studio was one of the most important things that I did for myself, because I really struggled a lot losing music, I guess, when I became a mom, which was a choice. You know, I had all these shows booked. It's really funny looking back on it now. I even had a train trip across Canada booked, and I was like 6 weeks after my first was to be born. And I was like, oh, I can do this. Like, I was supposed to be the artist on board. So I was going to play in the dining cart, and then I just figured I'd go nurse my baby and my husband would take care of him, and then we'd like sleep overnight, and you know, then you have this baby and you're like, I cannot do that. Like, that's not real life. That's not happening. Maybe someone can, but not me. And I actually, you know, within weeks of having him, I started canceling all my shows that I had lined up, which was understandable and fine. And, you know, you sometimes just not sure what that experience is going to be like. But what happened is I kept thinking, I'll get back into it. I'll get back into it. And the years kind of went by, and then I had another baby, and I kept writing, but I didn't play live. I rarely finished a full song. I wasn't recording, and I just kept kind of putting it off, thinking I'll get back to it. And it really weighed on me heavily. I kept feeling like the years going by and I wasn't getting this out. And also it just like that creative part of me wasn't having an outlet either, which was really huge. Yeah. So then the pandemic hits. I'm like kind of ready to get back in and start recording some stuff. And of course the pandemic hits. I'm like, where do I even record? So I did wait a while, and then finally went back into the recording studio last spring. So not just this past spring, but last year. And that's when Dino Lullabies came out in June. And it was so easy, Jess, to go back to writing music when I was writing kids' music. Because like I said, it was like everything they were talking about and they could help me. Like, it wasn't like I needed to go be separate from them during the day. I was like, okay, we're going to write this song about the T-Rex. Can you tell me everything you know? And they wanted dinosaur songs. The reason it all came about is they were looking for dinosaur songs one day on Alexa. They kept asking and asking, and they couldn't find what they were looking for. So I thought, well, I can write this. So that's how it started. And they were just this part of the process. And it was like I was speaking to them, but I was also like speaking to myself, like, not to knock Baby Shark at all. Like, there is a time and place for it, but like I cannot listen to that over and over again. And so I wanted there to be music that was like family music that we can share together and enjoy together, because it's really an important part of music, that we can sort of be social with it and connect through it. So yeah, it was awesome being back in the studio. And the studio I found, the guy who actually recorded my music, but also added drums, guitar, etc. to it. I play piano and sing. He has 3 kids. So he like totally got it. You know, it was like, it made, so I was like, is someone going to think this is weird? I'm coming in to write lullabies about dinosaurs, but he's like, no, this is awesome.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
it felt great. So I've just been having so much fun with it.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's funny, I interviewed a guy yesterday named Keith, and he has a book. I have it actually right here called The Sparkly Bun. And he was
Oh,
talking about how he wrote the book for like his kids, basically. And
right.
my book is for my inner child because I don't have kids yet. And then it's cool to hear how like these stories of just creating from the heart and creating something that you really, you wanted for yourself, you wanted for your kids, and then that ability to be able to come together and almost co-create with your kids
Yeah.
I mean, you did co-create with your kids. Like that's
Yeah.
a really powerful and unique experience.
Yeah. Yeah. It was so fun. And so it means a lot to them when they can ride in the car and listen to me. And just on a very like basic level, like my baby, who's almost 2, he would fall asleep to it all the time because it's mom singing. So we could like my
Yeah.
husband could put that on for him in the car, or he could put it on at nighttime if he's rocking him to bed. So like that was a really cool extra. But like my kids love to hear, like they love to be a part of the process. And I think it's a really cool experience for them too, right? To see how it all comes together and to know they had a part in it. And then they hear it when we drive around in the car or put it on Spotify. We're having a picnic, whatever. And so, yeah, and it's really authentic. Like you said, that gentleman who wrote the book for his children, like that's exactly, it just comes from a place, something that you needed for yourself. The cherry on top is that you get to share it with other people. And when it resonates with other people, it's like, oh, that feels amazing. Like, I'm so glad this could do something for you too, you know?
Totally. I think there's something that is so beautiful too about modeling for your kids what it looks like to think outside of the box, create outside of the box, and
Yeah.
do something that's different, and to
Yes.
almost be able to to be able to bring them on that journey with you to do it. Also, I was saying with Keith last night on our live, like, you know, you show people what's possible when you step out and you do it and you try and you're unafraid to just go, I don't know how to publish a book. I
Yeah.
don't know how to put lullabies and dinosaur stuff together,
Right?
but I'm just going to try it.
Let's try
And
it.
I think it models for your children too, just like the power of trying something, being unafraid to mess up, being willing to stumble, and also to be willing to do something that's like kind of going against the grain of the norm.
Yes. So all those things, so true. And I feel like when I was younger and doing music, I was so scared to mess up. All the time. I had no problem writing music at home and singing it to myself. The second I stepped onto a stage, I was so nervous and I was so scared to share myself and to share what I had to say and share how I sounded, and didn't want to step outside of any box, tried to be similar to other things that I heard instead of being myself. And it's interesting having gone through this process of motherhood. I mean, it's just like, suddenly a lot of that washes away.
Yeah.
Right. There's just so much that you're like, oh, wow, that doesn't matter. And like,
Yeah.
I think, you realize things that don't matter. Plus your self-confidence just grows because you're like this human who's caring for this other human. And
Yeah.
and now I'm excited that like there is nothing really like it, like these dinosaur songs that, can teach children through this story that they relate to and reflect the latest scientific research. I mean, I spent so much time researching every single dinosaur. And
Yeah.
then in that, I would find the story of like, however the scientists spoke about that dinosaur. I thought, oh, that's cool. I'm going to take that and go.
Yeah.
But
That is so cool. And I'm not a parent yet at this point in time. And I know that a lot of the people that I have a lot of girlfriends that have told me like this year as they've had kids or the last couple of years, like, yeah, stuff you thought mattered doesn't really matter
it
anymore in the
doesn't
way that
matter.
you thought it would. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so and to also be able to, I'm sure, taking a risk to be able to say like, I'm doing this with my kids, for fun, to model something different.
Yeah.
Like you care even less probably what other people think, which is really cool.
Yeah.
What has the response to your music been like? And like, what have you heard parents saying about their kiddos and their response to the music?
Yeah. Well, it's fun. The first thing I usually hear from a parent is like, oh my gosh, I'm enjoying this just as much as my kids. And it's like, yeah, That's what I wanted. That's what I hope. Even for people who I didn't say, oh, I think you'll like this as much as your kids. Like they just go and hear it and they give me that feedback. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome, And then the kids pick up on whether it's the rhythm or the beat or the repetition of the dinosaur's name. They connect with that. I've been able to play live in some elementary school settings and kindergarten classrooms. That has been so much fun because kids are really fascinated by dinosaurs, whatever it is that really just, attracts them to these ancient, huge animals. They love it. And so that's been really fun. Like on the end and then I've played like little festivals and little story times and stuff like that. I keep my live performances sort of few and far between right now, just as I'm feeling like the hustle of like my mom life. But yeah, so it's on both ends. It's been great. The parents just enjoying this music so much along with their children. And, just having a lot of fun playing with kids. Having kids as an audience instead of like adults at like midnight in some bar, it's like totally different, right? Like
I can imagine.
Oh my God, yeah. In my 20s, I'm like, is anyone listening? Should I be playing still? And now it's like these like little kids are just staring up at me with so many questions. So it's awesome.
Yeah. And they're so honest most of the time too, that you'll know exactly what they think.
Oh my gosh, that's the best part. It really is. My husband's been able to capture some really great videos and some wonderful comments from kids. It's awesome.
I love that. That's amazing. What I'm curious too, like the role with obviously like kids are going back to school, and I don't know if this is something that you really dive into, but like what role do you see music playing in helping to ease that back to school transition for kids?
Yeah, to me, music is so important in our daily life here as a family and how we function. And so I actually think that there is so much that parents can do to use music in their day-to-day life, but especially with really big transitions, something like going back to school, which comes with a lot of different emotions. Of course, there's excitement, but I think there's always nervousness. There's always like this unknown, right? Am I going to fit in? What does the schedule look like? Like my 4-year-old who's really excited about kindergarten, like he's super excited, but like he has no idea what's about to happen. He really doesn't fully grasp that he's not going to be home all day with mom. And my eldest, he's a really quiet guy. He's really contemplative. Like he just needs to kind of know what's happening, wants to think it all through. And my 6-year-old is just like, just up for the adventure, right? So there's a lot of different emotions that we're managing here. And I think that the most important thing I say to people, though, is like be a really conscious consumer of music. And because I notice that oftentimes now we have a little bit more power over that, right? Before, back in the day, we just listened to the radio and like whatever was given to us is what we consumed, unless we went out and purchased the CD or whatever. Now we have access to like tons of music. But I think sometimes we just put it on in the background. We don't really know what we're listening to, but we can like, our brains are so affected by music. And actually what's really cool about music is it affects almost all parts of our brains. And there's only one other like activity in our lives that does the same thing, and that's social activities. So it's really incredible how many pathways it can keep healthy by listening to music. So when we think about that, we don't really want to just be passively consuming. And I think it's really important to have like playlists ready for whatever mood it is that you are either going through or trying to achieve. And so when I was thinking about, back to school, I was thinking, okay, so there's so much science in music, but like, what do we know? We know how music affects us, right? So if we are in like a kind of a sad, bummy mood, like we kind of listen to some sad, bummy music. And like sometimes if we're like an excited mood or we want to be excited, we put on excited music or music that's going to pump us up. And so music can help us regulate our emotions because either we can have it meet us where we are and help us process those emotions, or we can say, you know what, I'm kind of down in the dumps here a little bit and I'm processing this, but I kind of want to feel this instead. And we know how to get there with the right music, right? And so my main thing is to have music at the ready, though. Like know what's going to work for you in that moment and put that on, because we don't want the wrong music, especially with kids. Like I feel like it's really interesting too, the kind of music that kids are exposed to. and they really like the beat, and that's really cool, but they're also like, they're hearing those lyrics.
Yep.
A lot of it probably isn't the best stuff for them, but there is so much inspiring music out there, that can evoke positive emotions, that can enhance mood and reduce stress too, right? That's really important. So we have kids going back to school and they're like managing all these emotions, and there's like a lot of stress. There's actually like perfect playlists out there ready, already made. I'm a Spotify listener myself, but whatever people listen to, whether that's Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Music, there are curated playlists that can, that are already ready made. Or, if you have some favorite artists, and I have some suggestions for parents who are listening, you put that together, and whether you want to create a sense of calm before bedtime, or you're kind of creating a sense of calm, maybe you're talking about school, maybe you're getting ready for back to school and your kids are really feeling on edge, just put it on in the background. You don't even have to make a thing out of it, but they will connect with that music,
Yeah.
So, and what's really cool is, and I don't know if people know this, but like music also synchronizes like with our like heartbeat, right? So there's actually music between like 60 and 80 beats per minute. If we listen to that type of music, and there's actually playlists out there that you can like find that have this. So like 60 beats per minute, it can cause like the brain to synchronize with that beat and like relax you. So finding like the right mood is really important, and the right beat is really important to help facilitate that mood. And I think too, also allowing music to like help you express an emotion. So like maybe a child is like working through something. So I mentioned earlier, like, yeah, it can meet us in our mood, or it can like help us process emotion, but like expressing that emotion also. And whether that's just they're listening to a song and it helps them like express that, or if they're into music and they sing and they play an instrument, like why not write something, right? Sing your emotions, right? And I think that's something really fun that younger kids could definitely get into and really enjoy. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I have some little tips here too that I can run through, like just some ideas. So whatever our conversation, we want to go through it. But
I love that. I was going to say the only thing I just wanted to share was, well, there were a couple things I wanted to kind of like link this to like an experience. Like I'll have times where I'm sure we all have these things where like all of a sudden I start singing a song and I'm like, where did that come from? And then I'm like, oh, I listened to it in the car 4 hours ago. I wasn't even paying attention, but something stayed with me.
Yes.
And like before I got on this Zoom with you, I was listening to a country song, Dancing in the Country, I think it was called. And I just was like, I need to belt this song out right now. Like all my neighbors probably heard me, but I was like, it was the feeling of joy was coming through me. And so I was just thinking like, there's so much power in even being able to curate a playlist, like you were saying about the Allosaurus song, of like, it gives your child like a fun touch point of like, I say with the Jessie Lou book, like there's been times if I was like, I went into the bathroom, I was at an event and I was feeling anxious and I was like, I'm going to do the Jessie Lou breath. My dad messaged me the other day. He was like, I just went out to dinner with so-and-so and I did the Jessie Lou breath afterwards, and like just
I was doing the Jessie Lou breath earlier today. I'm like, I love the book so much. And you're right. It's like, grounding, moment. And
but it's the same thing with music of being able to give that touch point of like, listen to the song and talk about being strong. And sometimes things are hard. And what does that look like? And then, maybe even your kid, even if they're young, kindergarten, preschool, something like that, they can sing the Allosaurus song to themselves, that you can put an Allosaurus in their backpack if they need to have a moment where they go, let me connect back. They can hold the Allosaurus, they can sing, they can like, there's so many ways to bring in that like tactile, like pretty much all of the senses to then be able to teach kids these skills of self-regulation and emotional regulation on their own.
Absolutely. And when you said that about the Allosaurus and sort of even bringing an Allosaurus with you to school, like we also like whenever we talk about music and memory, what a strong connection that is, right? Like we can hear a song that we loved from when we were kids or teenagers, and it brings us right back there. So if we also start to build these associations between a song that's really positive or gives our kids something that they can really hang on to, and we can give them a reminder of that throughout the day, and they come back to that feeling and just, creating those associations over and over again, be really powerful.
Totally. Yeah. I love that. So as I was just making sure in the background, if you saw my eyes wandering, that we were working on Zoom on Facebook, and we are, so that's really great.
Oh, good.
But yes, I totally agree with you. And there's, again, just simple little, sometimes I think simplicity is the best way, like something so simple that can just help to shift you into a different state of being, you know? So do you want to share your tips with us? Little things.
I think when you say that, it's the best tie into one of my first tips, that when you say simplicity is best, I love a morning playlist. And I think if you can get something started now that works for your kids, like I listen to, so I'm going to name a few, and I can probably, drop it in like the comments later, so parents don't have to write it all down right now. A few artists who I love. But I either in the morning, it depends the mood I'm in, but I either listen to classical, often jazz, or Frances England. Frances England is a children's musician, and her music is so beautiful and so soothing, and it can be on in the background. And the lyrics, again, are just really fun and touching that kids can appreciate as well and relate to. So I think just picking something, it doesn't have to be something new every day, right? Just something that your kids are getting used to hearing in the morning now, that's setting the tone for their day anyway. And then that becomes your morning ritual when they start school. It's really grounding because they already have that like start to the day that they're used to. They're hearing this familiarity, right? They're about to go into their day where everything will be new for some of them, right? And, for others, they might recognize some classmates, that sort of thing. You have a new teacher, you have a new classroom, you have a new schedule. Sometimes the kids in your class are different, right? Everything's new. So we're already starting the day with a playlist of songs that we know that are soothing and upbeat. I think it's important to just choose something that does fit with your vibe and your family, and maybe someone likes that energetic, like my husband loves pop music, that's kind of like, he kind of goes there, or kind of like heavy metal. He's like one of those two. But whereas I'm just like classical, jazz, and like Frances England, right? And that works for us. So I think finding what works and staying in that sort of positive, upbeat, gentle, soothing, and keeping that going. So it's a good morning ritual. I think too, letting your child, and then this can be a practice that carries through into school as well, have some time during the day for mindful listening. So again, not just like consuming music, just, without really paying attention, as we so often are doing, but just like we would take time out for reading or a little bit of art and some coloring, like let them just sit by themselves and consume music for a little bit. And that's giving them time to process a lot of emotions that might be coming up, while they're listening to some of this music that they're relating to. Then also that practice is in place for when they're coming home from school and they have a lot of emotions to process after their day. They can take that time. It could just be 10 minutes. Maybe they want a little bit more, but just having that time for some mindful listening. I think too, this one is really impactful for me. I don't know if you experience, well, you do. You were just talking about the song that created so much joy for you, right? And you wanted to sing it out. We have these songs that like, kind of like pump up songs, right? And it's like when you listen to it, you feel like you can conquer the world. And I think when we find those songs for our kids and they can visualize themselves like being awesome on that first day of school, or like, really rocking it out when they like answer a question in class, or maybe they know what they're going to do at recess. They're going to go play basketball with their friends. And like those songs bring up those really positive emotions, and you help them to visualize some things that are associated with that song. Because now we're open, we're receptive to that, right? Like I always like, I have these songs where I'm just like, I listen to them and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go conquer the world right now, right?
Yeah, totally.
Same thing for our kids. I think in like stress relief, relaxation, and bedtime, we talked about that a little bit earlier too. You can find certain songs that will synchronize your brain. There's actually certain genres that are very good for this, like Celtic music, classical music. And that may or may not work for your family, but just even finding something that has that like 60 beats per minute, it's great for stress relief and relaxation and, creating that soothing bedtime routine. My family, we are horrible at a bedtime routine. Like we really are, but I always try to end it on like some nice gentle music and maybe like a soothing little podcast, right? Just to kind of bring everybody's energy down. And again, just this repetition, just having the same type of music, the same songs again and again, help the brain settle into sleep. Once we get that bedtime routine set now, we are like above and beyond ready for school, right? Like I think it's like 80% of the battle is just bedtime and sleep. I was thinking about how if we incorporated music into certain tasks throughout the day, maybe they're getting ready for school, getting school supplies purchased, or maybe they're doing something with school that's kind of a little stressful, putting a schedule together, pop some music on in the background, make it fun and enjoyable. One of the artists I'm going to mention, Justin Roberts, his songs are so fun. They're just like, you will just be happy when you're listening to his music, or, some Dino music, like it's just fun. It's easy to listen to. And that's something you can do, when you're doing any sort of task, getting ready for school. Bless you.
Sorry. Thank you.
I think journaling is so therapeutic. I love journaling, and I think it's a great practice for kids to get into. And journaling with music is really awesome. For myself, jazz music really works very well for me when I'm putting it together a presentation, when I'm writing, it doesn't matter. It's as long as there aren't lyrics and it's something kind of just chill in the background. Like it could be like beats, it could be classical, it could be, anything that kind of works for you and you see your kid is, or yourself, you're sort of drawn to it. That's really good for the background, to keep your mind focused. If it has lyrics, you will be drawn out into those lyrics. But then we have our kids journaling about things that like, what's school going to be like what are some things that I'm worried about? I love, there's a company called Big Life Journal. I love their journals. They have a lot of great back to school stuff, but like if you were to purchase something like that, or if you just had a blank notebook and you gave your kids some prompts, put some music on, let them kind of just chill out and get some of those thoughts, out and processed. I think too, a couple more thoughts here. Musical breaks during the day, similar to like mindful listening, but this is more like if you see your child is getting kind of stressed, you're talking about the schedule or what drop-off is going to be like, or maybe you have someone going to the daycare, they haven't been in daycare, they're getting stressed, just stop and do a music break and like have a little dance party.
Yeah.
Right? Like get something fun on, 2, 3 songs, 1 song, it doesn't matter. Just take a music break and dance together and just have some fun with it. Help them feel those emotions, let them feel the emotion, but help them like process that, right? Like in your book, right? You talk about like needing to we need to move around sometimes. We need to like feel these emotions through, right? Totally. So we can use music for that. We talked about expressing ourselves through music. So if it's a child who wants to sing a song, they play an instrument, have them write some music about going back to school. Like it is the best creative outlet if that's something that you're attuned to, Yeah. And I think lastly, because this sort of goes with why I wrote the songs the way I did, but sharing music. And I think sharing music with friends, like especially like teenagers, like they connect so much through music, right? And sort of the teenagers, preteen, that sort of age, right? Like they connect over music. And so finding that shared connection, kind of opening up about some things. Yeah, I'm super nervous about going back to, yeah, me too. I know, like that can open up that sort of conversation. And then parents and kids and, kids and their caregivers connecting through music again, like you said, with the Allosaurus, like we're, oh, that Allosaurus had such a tough, rough day. Oh, but just, he really hung in there, and then also, like in the bridge of that song, it actually kind of goes into, but maybe I could have used some rest, a little patching up here and there. And so it's also talking about, okay, sometimes we power through a day and we're resilient. And then maybe we need to just take a little break sometimes and find something that helps us, kind of calm down from something big and tough. So
I love that. What just came to my mind too, as you were talking is like, I think sometimes trying to translate big, quote, like big adult topics to kids can also be challenging. And
Yes.
I just did an interview a couple, like I think a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago, and she was talking, the woman who was interviewing me was asking about, like, sometimes we have times where we freak out on our kids and we feel bad about it and we feel guilty. Being able to say, like, I'm having an Allosaurus kind of day.
Yes, I love that.
Right? Like, it becomes a connection point through music. And that's why I think, like, books, creativity, music, they become a common language. Like, how often, I mean, when I remember, I was in Costa Rica in the beginning of 2022, and I will never forget. Now, this was like very different because I was with some friends that I had made who were they were from Israel.
Oh, cool.
And they all spoke a different language than I spoke, but they could speak English, and we communicated and things like that. But oftentimes, if we were together, they would be speaking a different language than I could understand in the moment.
Right.
And but we were driving a long distance, and we put music on, and it was all American music. And they were like, oh, I love this Paul Simon song, 50 Ways to Leave a Lover. And then, like, they were singing this song that was coming to me is I won't even, it just, like, it was a hilarious song. I think it was like Baby Got Back or something like that.
I love it. Yes.
But it's this, right? It's common language, whether you speak a different language, whether you're a child and an adult, and you don't, I think about my best friend's little brother was obsessed with the Beatles when we were kids because his dad was, and as you were talking to about teenagers, I was thinking, like, back in the day in the 2000s, like, if a boy made you a CD, a burned CD,
my gosh, the myth,
is in love with you.
Yes, yes.
So it's cool to think about music as a language to, number one, not just express yourself, but also to be able to use beats and melody to calm the nervous system, to regulate the nervous system, to communicate something challenging without even having to communicate, right? Like, I'm just even thinking with a partner, like with your husband, if you were laying in bed at night and you were like, we're going to make sure we connect for 10 minutes every night, you could just say, okay, I'm going to play a song that is the theme song for how my day was. You play a song that was the theme song for how your day was. And we don't even have to discuss what happened today because we can meet each other there.
Through the music, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't have the words. We don't even have the energy to express ourselves, but the song can. Yeah. I love that. And that's a great idea, again, for caretakers and their children. Yeah. I'm going to pick a song to let you know how my day went. And I want you to pick a song so we know how your day went. I mean, how fun for a kid would that be? Right?
Totally. Like, even on the ride home from school, you could say, okay, each person, if it's a 15-minute ride, everybody gets one song. What song? Tell me about your day, right? How often do parents say to kids, tell me about your day? And they go, nothing. I don't know.
No. Right. Exactly. Right. Because they're just unsure most of the time how to express themselves.
Yeah. But again, music, universal language.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Love it. Amazing. Okay. I'm going to link all of your information here. So I will make sure that you people have your website. Awesome. And then they can find your music on Spotify. As well as all other major streaming platforms. You said Apple Music, Amazon Music.
Everywhere. Like, it's, internationally, all the different platforms. So pretty much anywhere that people consume music. And I feel like, even though I'm going to put it in the notes, I do want to end by mentioning some of my favorite playlists and some of my favorite children's artists. I threw a few of them in there, but we'll end with this. So Francis England, great to check out. Lucky Diaz and the Family Jam Band, very fun, very enjoyable to dance around to, great rhythm. Justin Roberts, those are the super cute lyrics and just like everyone's just gonna smile. Jack Johnson, while not necessarily children's music focused, like super chill vibe, lyrics are totally fine for kids to listen to. Like, just, I feel like there's just an appreciation for love and the environment and peace, right? So Jack Johnson, and the sounds are so soothing. Tara Kaufman.
Obviously.
And then two of my favorite Spotify playlists for kids. It's curated by Spotify editors, which is always really great. One is called Calm Kids. and the other is called Kindie, Kindie. So, but I will, share those in the comments.
Amazing. And add Kara to your playlist. If you have a
Yes.
playlist, add her to your playlist. Share it with a friend. I think it's one of the things that I loved about writing a book was seeing how much support there was from my community. And I know that when it comes to, and I think people want to support people when they see and hear the story behind the music or behind the book or behind whatever the creativity. And, it's easy to go, okay, well, buy my book on Amazon, easy, go type it in, buy it, right? You can support someone in that way. And I know it's a little bit different for artists in terms of like Spotify and things like that. So I think the more plays and the more adding to playlists and things like that.
Currently, and sign up for my mailing list because I'm working on music videos as well as merchandise. And soon you'll be able to get, I'm on the fence about creating CDs, but I do hear there are some parents who would like a CD. So I think I may even create those as well as vinyl, and but lots of things on their way. And yes, for now, streaming my music would be wonderful. Adding me to your playlist.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, thank you for being here.
And thank you for
yes, everybody out there who was listening, thanks for being live with us. And we'll see you back here soon.
That sounds great. All right. Bye.